It's been one hell of a busy week for me, guys, and it actually still is. I just know regardless, I still have to drop something for you guys, so this is going to be a quick one. In this video, I'll share with you guys some 5 tips and workflow features in FL Studio that you'll start using right away from your next project. Yo guys, I'm BiiMan and you're welcome to the video. Let's get straight to it. Now the first tip I'm going to show you guys is how to check and set the key of any one shot or 808 in FL Studio with Edison. Here's how you do that. Let's say you select your 808 like this. You want to come right down here and right click, then select Edit in Audio Editor. When you do this, it automatically loads up the 808 in Edison. Now the next thing you're going to do in Edison is you want to come right down here and hover over regions. Now when you hover your mouse over regions, you're going to select Detect Pitch Regions. Now when you do that, it automatically detects that this 808 is set to the key of G sharp. And when you see this 2, it means it's on the 2nd octave. Normally, to simplify your workflow, you would want to set your instruments around middle C, which is like the 5th octave. So you come back here to the 808 sample, you select these miscellaneous functions, and then you set your key to G sharp. And as you can tell, instead of setting it to G sharp 2, we set it to G sharp 5. This keeps it around the 5th octave. So now you've properly set the key of your 808. For most people, this is as far as they can go. But I'm going to show you guys another step you can go further with this to keep your 808 or one shot not just only on key, but properly tuned, which leads us to the second tip. Now on the second tip, guys, I'm going to show you how to tune your 808 or one shot to not just only be on key, but to be properly tuned on that key. Now how you're going to go about that is, as you can see, this 808 is already set to mixer track 14. Now here's what we're going to do. On this track 14, I have this tuner plugin loaded up to it. Now on the tuner, you want to come right down here and select bass. After you select this bass, you can play your 808. As you can see, it tells us that the 808 is on the key of G sharp 2 as we already detected with Edison. But then you notice something. It's not quite tuned properly on G sharp 2. It's off by at least 8 cents, you see. If it were properly tuned, it should stay somewhere here in the middle. Now this is a common problem most producers encounter. You know that your sample or 808 or one shot is actually on key, as you could tell, but for some reason it doesn't feel as sweet and as exciting as you would expect it to be. That is because it's slightly not properly tuned on key. So how you're going to fix that is, you're going to come over here on the 808 or one shot sample. Over here at this range is set to 2. You want to set that to 1. Now when you set that to 1, you're going to come over here to the pitch. And as you can see, we are off by 8 cents. Now you're going to pull this down by 8 cents. You see, just slightly. And if you're not sure what the number is here, you can always come over here and check. Anything you do down here, the information pops up here. So now our 808 is properly tuned. Let's test that and see. You see, guys? It's giving you this orange color which tells you that you're properly tuned. Beautiful. If this tip resonated with you, please drop a like, let me know in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe. Now that leads us to our third tip. So on the third tip, I'm going to show you guys how to shape the ADSR of any kick drum or one shot to fit to the BPM of your song. Now here's the problem most producers encounter. Now a lot of times you realize that on a fast tempo song or just any song where the samples are placed a little bit too close to each other, you realize that even after picking a sample that you like, it doesn't quite fit with the groove of the song as you imagine it in your head. Now what causes this a lot of the times is probably the decay or the release of the sample is a bit too long. They get to kind of collide with one another. Imagine something like this, for example, though. The first thing you can always do when you encounter something of that sort is you want to come over here and select cut itself. When you select this, it actually means anytime the next kick is hitting, it cuts itself. But then often you realize that even this too is not enough. A lot of times you can actually shape that by coming over here on this out function and reducing it. Again, you realize that the groove doesn't breathe as you would imagine it to be. But then if you want to really set the ADSR, ADSR stands for attack, decay, sustain, and release. So here's a proper way to fix that. You want to come over here to this envelope setting, and right down here, this is where the magic happens. This gives you the opportunity to properly shape the length and the tone of the kick. And you want to listen carefully while doing it to get the best results. Now let's go ahead and do that. You can tell that the kick feels much more shorter now because we reduce the decay and we also reduce the release. We actually cut out the release completely. You see, this is without. You can tell that there's a certain noise bleed at the end of the kick. This is where you then come over here on this out button and set something like this. You can also use this trim tool. You see, guys? You see what we just did with this kick drum? And then here's another thing. When you take this attack right to the start, it gives the kick this sharp transient. Sometimes that's something you don't want. So you want to reduce the attack just slightly, and you realize it's going to change the tone of the kick. You see? So now the kick feels much more rounded. And when the attack is completely off at 0, the transient of the kick is present. So that leads us to the fourth tip. I'm going to show you guys how to set up 2 separate delays on a single vocal track. This has 2 advantages. First, this gives the vocal a sense of space and permits you use less reverb on the vocal, which might easily muddy the vocal. And second, it also adds some sort of excitement to the vocal. Let me just show you guys. So check out this vocal.
I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get everything I need.
Now check out what happens when I introduce the first delay to the vocal, and the first delay is going to be a half note delay, and I'm using this free delay UFX from UJam. You guys don't want to sleep on this delay. It's actually free. Go copy it. So the delay is in mono, and this is what it sounds like.
I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get everything I need. I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get that thing I need.
I'm obviously exaggerating the effects so that you guys can get what I'm trying to explain. Now we're going to introduce the second delay, which is a stereo delay, and it's going to be a quarter note delay, and it's on ping pong mode. Now listen to that.
I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get everything I need. I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get that thing I need.
For now it sounds like a whole lot of mess, but then this is the point where we listen carefully and we play with the gain levels to find a sweet spot. Let's do that.
I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get everything I need. I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get that thing I need.
You hear that, guys? It sounds exciting. Now that leads us to the fifth and last tip. So guys, on the fifth and the last tip, I believe you found yourself in this situation where after compression and every processing on the vocal, you still find certain places where the vocal peaks or the transients just peak in an abrupt manner. So the way I fix that is I always use a limiter, and I like to use the L1 limiter from Waves. You can use any limiter of your choice. I link both the threshold and the ceiling, and I bring the two down to exactly where I don't want the vocal to go above. This helps give much more headroom, not just only to the vocal, but to the entire mix. Now let's do that.
I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get everything I need. I'm a winner for sure. In this life I can't lose. I'ma ride on till I get that thing I need.
You see guys, now the vocal is properly controlled. There are moments where it's hitting minus 16.7 dB, but with this setting, everything stays at minus 17 dB. You see? Now the sweet thing is this doesn't add any distortion or any coloring to the vocal still stays transparent. So that's our last tip guys, and that's it for this video. Hope you learned something, and if you did, hit the like button. Don't forget to comment and subscribe, and see you all in the next video. Take care guys.